But the Children by Beulah Vega. Protests, riots, revolution, unease, and unrest ignite civil disobedience. And I hear you. I hear the white, middle, upper-class Americans screaming, but what about the children? I cannot speak to all. I can only speak to some. But let me tell you who I know. I know a black mom who marches from the past for the future, who is revolting from inequality, dehumanization, slavery, whose child is dying from a lack of breath. I know a brown mom who marches from the past for the future, who is fighting to be allowed legality, personhood, dignity, whose child is dying in a cage. I know a Native mom who marches from the past into the future, who is rising against looters, stealing her land, her culture, her people, whose child is dying from a virus because promised supplies now line wealthy pockets instead. I know so many moms who march from the past for the future, who scream, who riot, who destroy what we have been taught to hold sacred by a white capitalistic society. Because we know that pacifistic silence is ignored while our children are dying from the color of their skin. And I know a white mom who marches across social media screaming, "What about the children?" Angry, disgusted, uneasy, and embarrassed because her child is not being obeyed by ours.
What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode?
I sit and look out upon all the sorrows of the world, and upon all oppression and shame. I hear secret, convulsive sobs from young men at anguish with themselves, remorseful after deeds done. I see in low life the mother misused by her children, dying, neglected, gaunt, desperate. I see the wife misused by her husband. I see the treacherous seducer of young women. I mark the ranklings of jealousy and unrequited love attempted to be hid. I see these sights on the earth. I see the workings of battle, pestilence, tyranny. I see martyrs and prisoners. I observe a famine at sea. I observe the sailors casting lots to see who shall be killed to preserve the lives of the rest. I observe the slights and degradations cast by arrogant persons upon laborers, the poor, and upon Negroes and the like. All these, all the meanness and agony without end, I, sitting, look out upon, see, hear, and am silent.
Ain't I a Woman by Sojourner Truth, adapted for poetry by Arlene Stetson. That man over there say a woman needs to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and to have the best place everywhere. Nobody ever helped me into carriages, or over mud puddles, or gives me a best place. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I've borne 13 children and seen most all sold into slavery. And when I cried out a mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? That little man in black there say a woman can't have as much rights as a man, 'cause Christ wasn't a woman. Where'd your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him. And the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone. Together, women ought to be able to turn it right side up again.
I wrote this poem in response to Amy's call for a poem on injustice. And justice for all. In the late 1960s, when I was a young child, my parents, deep in black fear, pulled me away from a window where I was peeking beneath the tattered shades at all the angry noise in what seemed to me to be a violent parade of black men in my Bridgeport town. My angry father hissed, "They want to put the white man down. They want me to pay for something I have never done. I've only been good to them. Well, they can go to hell, everyone." So began my education on the hatred of them. Yet even though young, I knew he was wrong. I was savvy enough to see something big had begun. Because on TV, many were talking of love, equal and civil rights, no more war, peace on earth and goodwill to all, which I thought already existed, based on my indoctrination of Sunday school laws. But sadly, all those lessons were laced with scattered verses of the many holy words used to justify their hatred and hypocrisy. Still there is hope in all those people then and now who march against tyranny, march against the few who grew rich because of greed on the backs of the many in need, and against those who divide us for personal political expediency. Then when I think of that battle and the many we have lost, I can't help wonder if it has been worth the cost. When I think of the few that have never paid for the crimes they've done, compared to the streets of the righteous who for their lives had to run from those who maintain power with the butt of a gun. When I think about the injustices incurred by the few against the many, the massive graves where the bodies of families were tossed, when I think of all that, and my lingering hope, I can't help wonder if I'm the one who's lost.
To the States, by Walt Whitman. Why reclining, interrogating? Why myself and all drowsing? What deepening twilight, scum floating atop the waters? Who are they as bats and night dogs askant in the Capitol? What a filthy presidentiad! O South, your torrid suns! O North, your Arctic freezings! Are those really congressmen? Are those the great judges? Is that the president? Then I will sleep a while yet, for I see that these states sleep for reasons. With gathering murk, with muttering thunder and lambent shoots, we all duly awake. South, north, east, west, inland and seaboard, we will surely awake.
This poem is called A Rock, and I'm sorry to say it's as relevant now as it was when I wrote it 50 years ago. A rock, no harmless little thing to throw. My sister's hit me once. I have a scar. Today, an urged by angry youth I know threw his own rock. Not very far, but hard and straight at a man in blue. A man who had his job to do. His job? To put down riots if he can, despite his secret urge to kill a few. And now the youth lies bloody red on stone, and all the satisfaction he'd known when he threw the rock has ebbed away. Perhaps the man in blue did well, you say. I say, the picture says what must be said. One man in blue, the other glistening red.
Hi, my name is Beulah Vega, and I will be doing my poem Liberal, which is from a collection of poems titled The Rising of an American Rage. Okay. Liberal. God, I am so tired. I am so tired of being the brown sacrificial lamb amongst the educated liberal elite. I am tired of being the token. I am tired of being just the living, breathing symbol of your superior morality. I am tired of your assurances of respect and equality that always come on your terms. I am tired of your support. I am tired of your support that evaporates like cigar smoke, leaving only a lingering stench and a slight stain. I am tired of the next new cause, the next new fight. I am tired of listening to liberal roars of indignation that drown out the weeping child beside them. I have been tired for so long. I have been tired since I was 4 years old when I watched with my mixed blood all-American eyes as my cousin, 9 months pregnant, was physically forced on a bus, while her 2-year-old mixed blood all-American brown child screamed in my mother's white arms. Where was your roar of indignation then? How can I help? How can I help? You've asked 1,000,000 times. How can I be an ally? You like that word, ally. You rage against the immoral and harmful. Then you go buy your rainbow shirts made by Indonesian children from Target. You protest against unfair and unequal laws. Then you line up at the taco truck, quibbling about the price and questioning the hygiene of all those involved, as you eye the group of teenage boys whose dark hair glints in the same sun that you mistakenly think powers your car. You march against injustice and for humanitarianism, but you march around, giving a wide berth to the homeless man who, though he served your country, can't afford his meds. So please, my dear liberal friends, my allies, leave me out of your GoFundMe feel-good march around the Capitol, followed by fundraising margaritas and complimentary tequila tasting served by women in the faux lace blouses of a conquered peasant class. I refuse to reduce people into mere political pawns. I am tired. I am still so tired. But I can't rest. Because when this political climate changes, when the next humanitarian crisis has caught your fickle eye, when the next well-meaning petition comes across your feed, and when your friends jump in their hybrids to form the next committee, I will still be here, like I have always been, actually living this fight.
The Contrast by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. They scorned her for her sinning, spoke harshly of her fall, nor lent the hand of mercy to break her hated thrall. The dews of meek repentance stood in her downcast eye. Would no one heed her anguish, all pass her coldly by? From the cold averted glances of each reproachful eye, she turned aside, heartbroken, and laid her down to die. And where was he who sullied her once unspotted name? Who lured her from life's brightness to agony and shame? Who left her on life's billows, a wrecked and ruined thing? Who brought the winter of despair upon hope's blooming spring? Through the halls of wealth and fashion, in gaiety and pride, he was leading to the altar a fair and lovely bride. None scorned him for his sinning. Few saw it through his gold. His crimes were only foibles, and those were gently told. Before him rose a vision, a maid of beauty rare, then a pale, heartbroken woman, the image of despair. Next came a sad procession with many a sob and tear, a widowed, childless mother tottered by an humble bier. The vision quickly faded, the sad, unwelcome sight. but his lip forgot its laughter, and his eye its careless light. A moment, and the floodgates of memory opened wide, and remorseful recollection flowed like a lava tide. That widow's wail of anguish seemed strangely blending there, and mid the soft lights floated that image of despair.
A little morning poetry for y'all. I see color every day. I see it in the beautiful shades of browns in my brothers and sisters, the ones escaping struggle for a better life just to end up caged like prisoners. I see color every day. I see crimson red blood spilled without hesitation, without halt. I see the many tones of the courageous black man, his skin embedded in the grit of the asphalt. I see color every day. I see a father's pink lips whimper as he cries for help with no rest. I see those same lips turn to opaque as he exhales his final breath. I see color every day. I see a thunderstorm of tears rain down from black children as they weep because their mommies and daddies' milk chocolate skin got them gunned down. Can't we hear their plea? I see color every day. I see hollow veins turn to gray in a man's neck as he's pinned down from a knee. I see the color of my white privilege, the same hue as that officer murdering in the street. I see color every day. I see the shimmer of golden badges worn by those sworn to protect and serve. I see the many colors of change a-coming because we finally struck a nerve. But this nerve wasn't just struck. America's got a giant fucking racist blemish. And it didn't start with Floyd, and it was here long before Emmett. To my white brothers and sisters, we have this privilege, and it's time we spend it. Because this country was built for all of us, and this freedom, we must defend it. I see color every day. Rainbows are coming on the horizon, but how much blood will be spilled? The rain will clear like our tears, but only after how many are killed. We need justice, and not for just us. Because ignorance has a color too, and it's darker than the devils that walk amongst us in the darkest of ways. Don't tell me you don't see color, because I see color every fucking day.
I wrote this poem about 10 months ago, shortly after the President of the United States told 4 members of Congress, all women of color, that they should go back to their countries instead of participating in this democracy. This is The America by Christopher Nevin Johnston. America has lost its rudder. A madman storms the deck. The captain is drunk on power. The crew is soaking wet. Drenched in blood and tears and sweat, they cannot see each other. As cannons fire, one by one, and all at one another. Below a long divided deck, splintered beams asunder, exhausted from their long hard trek, children comfort one another. Captain, please, do something quick. The ship is all but wrecked. I fear the hull can bear no more. The rats have all abandoned it. Never fear while I am here. The tide is small, the treasure's tall, no steering needed yet. But surely, sir, you must see the storm, must feel the burn of our blazing, sinking ship. I'll hear none of that, ungrateful brat. It's all a false report. There is no storm, there is no smoke, and if you complain, we'll surely send you back. America has lost its rudder. A madman storms the deck. The captain is drunk on power. The crew is soaking wet. Unless the wheel is fixed and quickly course corrects, I fear the ship will soon be lost at sea, and the mighty America will meet its untimely death.
Injustice drips from bloodied lips and your cold and hateful gaze. We know this much from history. You haven't changed your ways. You heap your ego on the world and claim it's yours to take, ignoring those who are suffering devastation left in your wake. Your oppressive force reeks of cowardice. You cannot stand to lose. You live your life on stolen land, forcing yourself on whomever you choose. The inequality you aim to keep, justifying your power to help you sleep. A devious smirk with an oppressive hand smothers the voices across the land. Exploitation enriches no matter the cost. Innocent lives repeatedly lost. No repercussions, no guilt or shame. You cannot even speak their names. When humanity needs kindness and tending to the ill, you have to flout your selfishness and eagerness to kill. Your sickness is your privilege, it ripples across the land, but there is hope for a new discourse as folks all take a stand. You feed the world with lies and schemes to blind it with your power, but after all your treachery, truth will claim the hour.